if you're not discouraged about your writing on a regular basis, you may not be trying hard enough. Jessica and Allison, could you tell us about times when you felt discouraged about your writing and hardships that you've endured on the path to being published?
Which time, which day, which moment, which minute? Yeah. I think I actually agree with that statement. I think any worthwhile book has to have some stage of discouragement. One of the quotes I have on my wall, and I can't remember who said it. Sorry, whoever famous dead guy that said this. But it's every worthwhile accomplishment has its stages of drudgery: a beginning, a struggle, and a triumph. And so I always say, if your book doesn't have that middle stage of the struggle, then it's probably not a worthwhile accomplishment. Which I have to remind myself in the middle of every book, which is why I put it on my wall. But, my husband and I have this joke, because every time I come out of my office and I'm crying, he says, "Oh, page 100?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but this one's worse." And he says, "I'm going to start recording you because you said that the last time." I said, "Well, yes, but this one is much worse than the last one." He said, "But you said that the last time." And I said, "No, but," and he goes, "But whatever you're going to say, you said it the last time." So it's true. I mean, I actually heard a keynote speaker once say that every book she wrote is the last book she would ever write. And I feel the exact same way, because everyone has this stage of struggle. But I also like to say, if I go through an entire book, this hasn't ever happened yet, thankfully, but if I got through an entire book and it was just easy breezy and I had no trouble at all, I'd probably have to throw it away, because it means it wouldn't be any good. So I absolutely agree with that. In this book, oh gosh, which part was the most discouraging for me? Probably page 100.
Yeah, everything Jessica said. It's funny because people always ask, where do you get your ideas? And to me, that's the easy part. I mean, ideas are everywhere. And I have a file filled with ideas. I will never live long enough to write, the book for every idea that I have. It's the taking that idea that you can see so clearly and so perfectly and making it look like that on the screen or on the page, however you choose to write. That's where the hard part comes in. That's the actual writing part. And honestly, every day is a little bit discouraging. Every day is difficult. Every day it never really quite gets to where you want it to be. But writers just keep going back every day and polishing and revising. And you know this, you're a writer. You just keep at it because really it is what you love to do. And it is Act 2. I usually start off pretty good. Act 1 is fun because we're entering this new world and we're introducing these new characters and we're getting it all set up, and it's kind of thrilling and you feel all hyped on yourself, Then somewhere around page 100, Act 2, however it is that you write, you start going, what am I doing here? Who are these people? I'm lost. What's happening? Why did I start this book? I hate this book. And my husband and Charlie, they actually have talked about it, I'm sure, because we know each other. It's the same conversation, I'm dying in this book. This book is so difficult. You said that last time. But this time it's for real. It's really serious. So, just anyone in the creative field knows that it's exciting and discouraging and thrilling all at once. But you just keep doing it because it's what you love doing, and you can't imagine doing anything else.
Speaking of revision, could you tell us about your revision process and how many drafts you go through, how long a book usually takes, if you handwrite your first draft or compose on a computer, and then who reads your drafts before you give, if anyone, before you give them to your agent and editor? Why don't we start with Gabrielle?
I'm not a huge reviser, to tell you the truth. I like to think endlessly before I start. I will think about things for a year sometimes before I started to write, because in a way I think of course the first draft for many people is just a first draft, but for me there's only one, it's also your only chance to have whatever that original impulse is be the book you wanted it to be in your head. And so I revise a lot after my editor, but I don't necessarily revise a lot when I'm coming up to writing a book. And quite often the book that is in front of you is very similar to the one that I will have planned after a year of planning. It's like planning a wedding, kind of, writing a book, at least for me. And there were a lot of parts to that question, I believe. Who reads it first? Well, something I would say is really important is your book, I think, is a secret that you need to keep for a really long time. And that means you don't say, hey, I have 3 sentences here, read them, let me, what do you think of these 3 sentences? I think people look for feedback too early, and I think you have to, at least from my point of view, you have to know what you want that story to be before you ask other people to weigh in on it. And I think we have so much feedback. The internet's like, but a book is not a like, And not only that, a book sometimes has a purpose beyond just trying to make you like it. And so I think it's worth it to keep your manuscript to yourself as long as possible. And then the only people that really read my books are, my common law husband. I say that because he's been my boyfriend for 15 years. So I think we're kind of like unofficially married at this point. And I think it's worth, you have to be very careful about who you show your drafts to. You have to make sure there are people that are on your side, that really understand a lot about writing, that share your sensibilities, and that don't necessarily have an oar in it, And so, I'm a really private person. I know a lot of people have big groups of people around them, and I sometimes wish I was that person, but I'm not,
I always like these kinds of questions because I love hearing